Hey guys, welcome back to Rocking the Spectrum. Today I'm really excited to do another Q&A. I went on social media and asked you guys to send us in some questions, and you guys really came through. There was a bunch of awesome questions that I'm excited to answer. So we're about to jump into the questions, but I don't know if you guys can tell, we got a little bit of a cool setup going on. We're really excited about having this background and this table and the mic. We want to do a lot of really hot and serious and important topics all about autism and things that revolve around autism, like eating and sensory and communication. And I think the perfect way to do that is to kind of have a podcast with that so that we can just talk and, bounce ideas off of each other. We really are very similar, but very different, Hugo and I. So I think it's a good idea to kind of get my input on something and his, and then of course you guys comment down below and let us know what you guys think about the topics that we're talking about. We want to share everything, so we're really looking forward to kind of expanding our vlogs and just being even more informative and just spreading more awareness out there.
Yeah, it's mainly just sharing everyone's story. It's pretty much the melting pot where we share and connect with everyone. Mm-hmm. And we're blessed to have all you guys and just let us know what you guys are going through, your thoughts, your questions, and all these things really come together in this channel and really makes us feel like we're all connected.
It really does. I really get excited whenever I post a video and I see all the comments coming in about how you guys can relate, or you guys are going through something similar with insurance or ABA, or when you guys just got the diagnosis, because it kind of brings me back to how I felt in that moment when I was recently, going through the process of getting Christian diagnosed. It really, I'm not in that moment anymore, but it just makes me instantly jump back to that moment,
Yeah.
All right, let's get started. So the first question comes from our Patreon member, Amy. So if you guys don't know, we do have a Patreon. We actually just started it this month and we're super excited. We try to be as active as possible on there. I give some tips on there. I get more in depth with my tips. We do lens on there. So I love to post daily things about Christian and Haiti and ourselves. We also try to do exclusive content. So we're going to be posting some of the videos before we post on YouTube, or maybe some personal, videos on there that we don't post on YouTube. So if you guys haven't looked into it, the link is in the bio. Definitely check it out. And if you can support, we thank you so much for doing that. It really is supporting this channel and allowing us to expand the way that we really want to. So I appreciate it. So Amy asked, how often does Christian have meltdowns? Is he able to calm himself down? So that's a really good question, Amy. Christian actually doesn't have too many meltdowns. Would you say he has a lot of meltdowns?
No, he's very mellow.
The only thing that I would call a meltdown for him is when he's having growing pains because of the pain, though. So I don't know if that counts as a meltdown. It's just he can't control his emotions at that moment because he's in so much pain. So it's not a tantrum. Nothing calms him down enough. He gets into this kind of uncontrollable convulsion in a way, not convulsion, but he tightens up so much, and there's no way of telling him just calm down. He's literally overwhelmed.
Yeah, well, I would say he has at times when he feels like he wants to tell us something, and mm-hmm. he's very frustrated that we're not understanding. Mm-hmm. I think that's another thing, because he starts to bite his hand at mm-hmm. times. It's happened maybe 3-4 times where he bites himself.
Yeah, but even then he could calm himself down pretty quickly.
It's not a meltdown, but it's something where he's harming himself, and that's to me that's a red flag. I don't want that. That's the last thing I want for Christian to be doing.
The only time that I've had a public meltdown, where I flamed down, this is hard, was when we went to the movie theater to watch Toy Story 4. And I've mentioned this story before on our YouTube channel, that I took him outside because I knew something was off. So I wanted to give him some space, and I left my phone inside of the theater, and he just got a huge pain, and he couldn't control himself. He was trying to climb me. He was screaming. He was crying. He was twisting himself in a way, and everybody was staring, and I had no idea how to calm him. And that's as soon as Hugo came out and was what's wrong, after 10 minutes, I just busted out crying. Like the adrenaline just kind of like left me because I was like, oh, Hugo's here. And I was just like so panicky. Like he's like, what's wrong? I was panicking. I was like, I didn't know what to do. You know, like I felt so helpless. And if that's what I was feeling, imagine him with pain and like not being able to tell me what was happening. But that was probably the only meltdown in public that I can really think about, besides just like little tantrums as he's had here and there. But he does know how to calm himself. And one of the things that he does is he does like the stimming that helps him, or he does the thumb sucking, which is not something that we really want him to do. But if there's nothing else that we can give him like as an alternative, and that's the only way that he calms himself, I'm not gonna stop him, you know, if that's his self-soothing way. Yeah, but that was a good question. I think it's really important for kids to be able to calm themselves. Like Christian has always been a very mellow kid, but also he's always been able to calm himself. So whenever there would be a moment of frustration, for the most part, he would be able to go to his corner. Yeah. So we never had to teach him, but there are ways to teach kids to, you know, count to 10, ask for a break, take deep breaths. It takes a while, especially for somebody like Christian, that imitation and learning things like that might be a while. So it might not work for everybody, but there is ways to help give them coping mechanisms. The next question is, how is he doing with no accidents since he has been potty trained? That's a really good question. So he's been doing really, really well. We don't really have accidents. I would say the accidents that we have is very much like any kid that would have an accident. Like I remember when I was a kid, I would have random accidents that I would be embarrassed about, but it happens, you know. Same here. So it would be like if we're at a party and I'm not picking up his cues, that would be my bad. If you know, we're too far away from a bathroom, if he drank too much water and we went to bed and he woke up with like, and the bed was wet, you know, but it's not anything of like, oh, we're regressing and he's not understanding that he needs to do it in the potty. It's just accident. So he's doing really well.
That is actually one of the things that I'm very proud of him, because it was something that we were working on for a long time, and I'm just very proud of how far we've come with him, and that's one of the things. That's a big deal.
It is. It's kind of like when you ask me, you think Christian will ever talk. It's like whenever somebody would ask me, you think he'll be potty trained? I didn't know. You know, I hope. And like for it to happen, it was like, dang, like it really happened. You know, we worked so hard. Like if you go back to our playlist of potty training, it's like 2 years worth of like, you know, we go every 5 minutes, we go every 10. Oh, it's not working. We're going to step back a bit. Like you see the whole journey. So it's really cool. And it's cool to have those videos to go back to.
Consistency is key.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Next question. How does he communicate if he wants to toilet outside, which goes into the potty training thing? That's a really good question. At first, I didn't realize that he had a way to communicate. I would just take him every time we would go somewhere new, or right before, like if we were gone for an hour and we got to the store, I would take him right away. If we were about to go back to the car, I would take him at that moment just to make sure. But recently I've noticed that he kind of has those regular cues that a lot of kids have where they do the potty dance. He kind of does that, but he also lets you know in a way of like nonverbal communication. So like the one that I really remember is like if we were at a party and he just kept grabbing onto this lady, like kind of like tugging at her, and it's like, no, Christian, don't do that. But he kept doing that. And then I looked at him and he gave me this look of like look at me. Yeah. And I was like, oh, you need to go potty, you know? He does that, or he'll kind of just be very, very antsy, like very hyper, very like, ah. Yeah. So we're like, oh, you need to go potty. So he gives us his own cues of going, and we just picked up on them after a little while.
Yeah. But we're trying to get it to the next level where maybe he could sign potty and he could tell anyone, maybe if it's someone that like he gets a new RBT, or oh, I didn't tell you his OT therapist. She told me that he was being very hyper.
She told me the same thing. He needed to go potty.
And she said, what's wrong, Christian? This is not your normal self. And she just let him be, and he was like trying to grab the door, so she
Ooh.
opened the door and let him take the lead,
And he went to the bathroom.
and he went straight to the restroom.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
With me, he was hyper, and she was like, maybe he needs to use the restroom, so she took him. But that's like the next level was your story of he went directly and took her.
Yeah, that was awesome, and it just comes to show like how awesome she is to let him
lead the way,
yeah,
and not ignore his like nonverbal communication.
Letting him speak in his way,
Yeah,
and her listen,
because it's easy to ignore. Like, no, we're gonna be in this room right now. You know, like.
And when she was telling me, and because you take him on Thursdays and I take him on Fridays, she told me that, and I just felt like telling her like, "Thank you, you know, like, I appreciate you so much. You're awesome."
Yeah.
But I'm sure she got it from. Thank you.
Another thing that I remembered right now is that we have been doing the on the phone. We'll show him a picture of the toilet, and if he has to go, a lot of times he'll point to it, and if he doesn't, he kind of ignores it. So that's like in a way a form of peck is like, Christian, if you have to go potty, point to the potty picture if you have to go, and it takes maybe like 2 times of me telling him, and he'll either continue ignoring, which I'm like, okay, you don't have to go, or he'll like start tapping at it. So that's another way that we're doing that.
Yeah.
Another question is, how do you feel about screen time with your son? So the funny thing about Christian is that he's not very interested in technology. He's not into a show anymore. When he was little, he used to watch Mickey Mouse a lot. I mean, he still watch it, but he's not like fixated on it. And the iPad, he's never been interested in. So we don't really have screen time for him.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah, he's more like into books.
Visuals, jumping.
He likes to be active.
Very sensory seeking.
Yeah, so TV is not really his thing, and I'm happy that he likes to be active because it's just overall better health
Which
wise.
It's cool when you have something that's really rewarding, like an iPad though, when you're trying to teach certain things. So you're like, oh, we can work for a video or something. A lot of times it's hard for us to find something that Christian wants to work for, but in the end, everything works out with each kiddo.
Yeah, it can be challenging at times because we all want to watch a movie, but Christian
doesn't want to sit still.
Yeah, he doesn't want to sit still, so he's like running back and forth.
It's more like work.
Yeah, he'll come to his room, and in his room we have a trampoline. He'll be in the trampoline, and we'll say something like, "It's your turn to check on him," and then so we'll check on him, and then what we'll normally do at times, if we really want to keep him with us, is we'll lock the doors, and we'll just have him out there in the living room with us, just so we have that bonding time with family, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the next question. What's the best and hardest part about being Christian's parents? The best part is he's my son, and I love him unconditionally. Like, I love my daughter. They're just my kids, and it's the best thing it's ever happened to me. I don't know how you could describe it, but it's love.
It just is.
Love from your kids is the best thing that's ever happened, at least to me, and him just being my son is the best thing that's ever happened. Now, the hardest part about being his parent is me trying to. The hardest part about me being Christian's parent is trying to understand his needs, pretty much educating myself to help him.
If I can say, like, in a way, are you talking about, like, sometimes it's hard to parent differently because there's certain things that you just like, Christian, like, just no, or you can't do this, but you have to think of it as like it's a sensory need, or this is why he's doing it, and you can't really fault him, and then you have to find a balance of like, is it that, or is it just
and not only that part, but you also have, for example, our daughter. Mm-hmm. She's watching us like, how come Christian could do this
always,
but I can't do this? But there is times where she does things that she doesn't see that she does, but Christian doesn't do it, So We just do our best to not differentiate, and yeah,
Try
that's
to make
probably
them both feel special.
yeah, that's probably the hardest thing, finding that balance between both of them, at least for me.
For me, the best part is just like you said, just being just being their parents. It's awesome. The hardest part for me would be when he is in pain, when something's wrong but he can't tell me and I have to try to figure it out. The middle of the night and he's screaming and he's getting to be like 75, 80 pounds, and I'm a little scared that like I won't be able to hold him and comfort him anymore. Or when he is feeling like the pain and he's uncontrollable, like how can I control him and how can I soothe him and help him? So it has to do with communication, and it has to do with figuring out what's wrong in those situations. So it's very frustrating, and it pisses me off that I can't figure out how to help them, because I just want to help. In that moment you just feel so overwhelmed and helpless because you can't do what you need to do as a parent, which is help them. The next question is, how's communication going with your son? It's going well. We are trying the the PECs, which is going good. I think we incorporate a little bit of everything. We're still doing the gestures, which a lot of you guys probably know what that means. So, where he kind of pulls us, points to things, and then we kind of either ask him to like do the PECs with it, or just point to it. We do sign language. We just incorporate a little bit of everything. I think that's the real way to make it very realistic for us as a family, is not really like focusing on one thing, but just doing whatever feels right in that moment.
Yeah, I think it's best if we try to do, not just stick to one thing, because there's some things that he knows, like for example pointing, and there's times that he doesn't know how to, um, or maybe he forgets to do the pointing and he wants to do like a peck.
It's harder for him to do the motor imitation, where like even if he knows I'm saying to do this, copy me, it's hard for him to process that in a quick way for him to copy. So he'll try to like do anything else to get the way that to get what he wants to get. So if he's already frustrated, or if we're out and we know what he wants, like that he just wants this, like we're just gonna make him point to it.
Okay, next question. Are you able to get date nights with your husband? I think that was more for you.
Oh yeah. We have an amazing family that lives near us. We have my mom, we have my family, we have his family. So we're very, very lucky that we live near them, and they do babysit for us. Pretty much, if we're like, "Ma, we need a day. Can you watch them?" Or like, "Hey, sis, can you hang out with them at the house?" They're amazing. They help us out pretty much whenever they can, huh?
Yeah, they're very
Yeah.
supportive, and
We
we are blessed to have them.
we probably date night would be probably like what, twice a month realistically.
Yeah, probably about twice a month.
And maybe one time out of sometimes we can go out like 3 times a month and hang out with friends and family, and then maybe we try to make it like a priority to have like at least one date, like where it's just Hugo and I, at least once a month.
Yeah,
So yes, I think it's really important. You?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then just to talk about, or just forget sometimes about everything, like don't talk about work, don't talk about kids, just hang out and relax and enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
What do you want people to understand the most about your videos? So what I want, and what we made this channel for, was to just kind of like let other parents know that they were not alone. I felt super alone when I got the diagnosis. I was really scared. So my main reasoning for making this was to show real life, the struggles, but more than anything, the positive, loving way that you can still live life. Like it's not like a diagnosis where it's like, oh, that's the end of the world. Like you have struggles, but you learn how to live with those struggles, and you learn how to work around them, or maybe even like learn how to not cope, but what do you mean, like you learn how to live life differently. So now I also want to educate people. I want to spread more awareness, and I want to reach as many people as I can, and kind of like give a way to let other people's stories come to life as well.
Yeah, definitely. And for all my Latino people out there, same thing. If you guys have a question, in español, inglés, Spanglish, lo que sea, we do our best to do both languages, because we know that, um, it could be a little bit tough for the Latino community.
Yeah. I've actually seen recently a lot of comments from you guys saying, how hard it is, how your parents, maybe don't understand what autism is. Maybe they just don't understand like why so many hours of therapy. We've heard a lot of things, and we're actually going to make a video podcast all about like our story on what our parents said, like how were their reactions, what we wish they wouldn't say, what we wish we would have told them. And I'm sure you guys kind of have the same thing. How we've kind of like educated them on what autism is and how they can help our son versus like, not understanding and just kind of distancing ourselves from them.
So not only do we want to do videos in English, we also have planned on doing some videos in Spanish.
I know we've said that. It's been like a year. We still want to. I've been practicing too. I've been doing like little videos for myself just because my first language is Spanish, but if you don't use it, you lose it, So we're very used to speaking English. So I feel very self-conscious of my Spanish. So if you guys, whenever I do post that first Spanish video, please be nice to me because I definitely have Spanglish, and then I speak fast in English and Spanish. So man, it's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a hot mess.
So, well, I mean, I use Spanish at work, so yo hablo español. Tal vez no lo hable 100%, pero hago lo mejor que pueda.
Lo hablas mejor que yo.
Más o menos.
All right, next question. Do you think your son would benefit from having a service dog? Has your family considered getting one at all? We haven't considered getting one. I haven't looked into the benefits of having a service dog. My son really isn't interested in dogs. Like we have our dog Luna, and he's very much like whatever about her. For the most part, yeah, I would say we haven't thought about it.
Yeah, I can't really give an answer either.
I haven't looked into it.
We haven't really looked into it.
It might be something we want,
what I could think of how she could, or a service dog could help, is maybe if like when he's running out, and maybe she could,
get him.
Yeah, she could help or give us an alert like, hey, he's running away.
Yeah, or like our biggest fear, like if we leave the door open or something.
As you can see, we don't know what we're talking about.
We'll look into it though. Any new milestones? I think the receptive language in general has been like a big milestone. He's understanding a lot more.
Yeah.
He's understanding even like one directions, like take off your jacket, helping us like put his clothes on, just everything, just being more aware. I feel like that's a huge milestone because at one point we didn't really know if he understood everything we were saying. Now, definitely he's understanding a lot more. So just understanding us is a big milestone for us.
Yeah.
Oh, and understanding how to use the pecs a little bit, right? Because he wasn't really like choosing, the pecs, and now there's a lot of intention on his choice. He's aware of like what he's choosing is what he's gonna get. So that is a big milestone. Next question. I love your videos. They are inspiring. Kindly guide which course you took for RBT and to approach BCBA for experience. I'm interested. My son is on the spectrum. I took a RBT course through the Relias Academy. They have a bunch of courses, and I believe they have a parent-based ABA course. So it's not necessarily to become an RBT, but it's kind of to get more knowledge on what you can do as a parent and what kind of programs you can run with your kiddo. I really enjoyed the course. If you mean how to approach him to like get work as an RBT, I'm not quite sure. I kind of got lucky and I applied for a job when I was still pending my RBT certification. I already had taken the course, but I was still pending the certification. They were able to assist me with the things that I needed to become certified. So I would probably start applying first once you complete your 40 hours of RBT training. And hopefully a lot of the companies are really in need of RBTs. Hopefully they'll hire you and help you obtain that certification.
Next question. Do you want more kids?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes and no. We both come from a family of 3, so I always saw myself with 3 kids as well, right? You too?
Mm-hmm.
But our son, he requires a lot of attention, and we don't want to make our daughter feel left out as well. So with 2 kids, it's already a lot on our plate. And who knows what the future holds. But as of right now, I think we're okay with 2.
I think well, my like kind of like my heart is like 3 because you know, like life is good, and you know, we've always thought about having 3, but then mentally I'm like, dang, like thinking about everything that goes into having another kiddo, and then financially, and then attention, like giving every kid attention. You know, I think nobody ever feels like they're ready, but it really is another thing that we really have to make sure that we are mentally ready for, because like Hugo said, you know, Christian has a lot of special needs, and it's scary to think of having another little one with like so much attention, needing so much attention, and still being able to focus on the other two. So never say never, but at least for now, for sure, we're not gonna have anytime soon.
Oh.
Our family wants us to have more though. So the next comment is, my nephew was just diagnosed with autism, and he does things identical to your son, as well as being nonverbal. We are currently on a wait list for ABA. We do school once a week for 2 hours. When diagnosed, there was a chance that he would not ever talk. We might have to use sign or tablet. That broke us, just the chance that he might never be able to talk to us. Has your son learned any new words, or how do you cope with that? Does speech therapy help? My son is he is currently saying like maybe 4 words, and his favorite is apple. So that's really hard, you know, especially when you get a diagnosis. I think that is the main thing that broke me out of my you know, like, oh, everything's fine, you know, we're gonna do this and this. When he first got his diagnosis, I was very much like, let's go. And I think I was talking to my parents, or my mom and my sister, and I remember thinking like, oh, I'm never gonna hear his voice, like, you know, in that time I felt like I'm never gonna actually hear him like say stuff, you know. So, and it at that time it did break me. So I understand what the struggle with that is. I think as time moves on, you get used to your new normal, your life, and you understand that just because your child doesn't talk doesn't mean that they're not expressing themselves, and that you can't get a glimpse into who they really are. There is nonverbal communication for sure, and even if they can only use PECs and you know, they have to use a tablet, they're still communicating, you know. So just because they don't talk doesn't mean that they don't have anything to say, or that they don't understand, for sure. Speech helps, especially if you said that your nephew has 4 words. For sure you can build on that and make it more functional communication. My son actually has never had any words, so to have a base is really, really encouraging. And, you know, especially when they're so young at 3, there's a lot that speech and therapy can do to build up that language and make it functional. And incorporating signs and tablets and trying to get that speech going would be amazing for him.
Yeah, 4 words is already a lot.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's
even approximations, even if they were to just say ah or ma, like you can definitely build on that.
Yeah, something that I was telling Jazzy is I would love for Christian to have 2 simple words, and those words is yes and no.
And for me, I would love him to just have that imitation of shaking your head no and nodding your head yes.
Yeah.
You know, a way to just say, like, have that communication available to him.
Yeah, and for me and my thoughts, I think there's like phases to this whole diagnosis thing, which is like at first they tell you and you're a little bit like in denial. You don't believe in, like you're like, okay, what's next? What do I do? You start doing all this research.
You build up to
and
it.
Maybe you come across rocking the spectrum. But then you kind of like go into a phase where you start crying, or you feel sad, frustrated, you don't know what to do. And then you kind of like accept it, you take it all in.
You try to advocate and you try to like support.
You start, once you kind of, and that's when you kind of start like moving forward and like, okay, what do I have to do?
This is life, and now we're gonna do the best that we can.
So don't feel sad for him, because I mean he didn't choose to be born like that.
And to him, there's nothing wrong, because there is like life is different, you know, like, and the only thing that sucks in my opinion about autism is that like my son, when he can't communicate his needs, it's like not even talking, but when he can't express what's wrong, when he's in pain and he can't express it. Like when I think, like if you ask me like an instant, like what's the worst thing about autism, to me it's that, like not being able to tell me what's wrong. Like it's not even like that. It's not that he stims, it's not that he like puts things in his mouth. Those are challenging, but that's not the worst thing about autism. The worst thing is that he cannot express his needs.
Yeah.
The hard part is that he can't imitate easily, that his mind connection to his body is a struggle for him. That he has so much sensory overload, or like his senses are so different that I don't understand it enough to help regulate him. It's like I want to understand him.
Yeah. So when I feel sad about it, because it still happens every now and then.
Normal.
Yeah, it's normal. I don't feel sad. I mean, I know it sounds confusing now. I feel sad, but I feel sad for me, my selfish ways. And what I'm trying to get at is like, I wish I could put my son into soccer. I wish my son could do this, that.
I wish the kids could be
playing with him. So something simple.
I wish he would be riding that bike with Haiti right now.
But to maybe to him, that's
he doesn't care.
He doesn't like that stuff. He's different. He likes other things that maybe even if he didn't have autism, he would still like these things. But just like there's some kids that like sports and other kids that don't like sports. I don't know, but that's just who he is.
And that's just Christian, though. That is generalizing Christian, because another kiddo with autism might really want that social engagement, and he might not be able to understand how to do it. Other kids, might really not want to have that and like hate it and like struggle with just even being in the same room. So when especially what I want to get out there is like when we talk about this, autism is Christian's
we're talking about our
personality son. And with him being autistic, it doesn't mean that every kid is like that, and that's definitely important to say.
I mean, every kid on the spectrum is different.
Every person is different.
Just exactly like that. Just like there is no kid that's exactly like another kid. And they might have some similarities, but it's not.
And that's when they become besties, because they like things.
Well, same thing with a kid on the spectrum. There's not going to be no kid that is exactly the same, but they're going to have similarities. And this story that we're sharing is everything is based on our son, Christian.
And that kind of jumps to another thing of who struggles more. Like, my son is completely nonverbal and your son might have 4 words. My son, he can't express when he's in pain, but your son or daughter, deals with frustration problems that he can or she can't control her anger. Like my struggles or my son's struggles are not less than yours, and yours are not more than mine. Like every struggle is important, So even though, your kiddo might seem like when they call it high functioning autism, that doesn't mean that it's not as hard as somebody that is considered low functioning. Every story has every story is a person, and every person has their struggles, I
mean, the word itself says it's spectrum.
Yeah.
It's like all over it, right?
Yeah, but it sucks that even like, let's say insurance is like, oh, your son can talk, your daughter can socialize, like there must not be anything wrong, but like that's not fair, and that's not true.
Good question.
Yes. So the next question: any secrets for trying new foods? We have problems with vegetables and meat. Secrets. I would say the biggest thing that has helped us, which I put on Patreon, we did a bunch of tips on how to get your kiddo to eat more in general, is giving them the space to try it. Allowing them that sensory need that they need, not by not shoving food in their mouth. So, with Christian today, I made a lasagna. He was very hungry because it was already like 5:30 and it was dinner time. He doesn't love lasagna, and at first I gave him a taste of the sauce on my hand, and he was okay with it after smelling it. And then I tried to put a piece of lasagna in his mouth, and he was like, threw it, on the floor. But then he sat down, I put the plate in front of him, and he was eating the lasagna like fine. He didn't love it probably as much as he would have loved like a regular pasta, Alfredo pizza or something, but he ate it, and I think that all comes down to allowing him the right to decide for himself if he wants it, and like allowing him to do it independently, because me shoving food in his mouth is too aggressive to help.
Yeah. So I had to go get the sauce, and there was all these options, and I saw some that said like greens, but you can't see it because it's red, and mushroom and all this. And what came to my mind is, oh, this is a perfect time to give him vegetables, and it worked out. So I ended up going with the mushroom sauce, chunky mushroom.
So he ate vegetables. So yeah, definitely. If you want more tips, I can try to make a video on it. But just for sure, giving them the independence and allowing them time to be messy with it and touch it, and it takes time. It really does. You know. Do you feel good as parents teaching your kids about something that isn't talked much about in the Latin community?
Oh, yeah, I feel good about it because what I'm doing is, I feel like, for example, in our side of the family, like we're the pioneers of um, educating and sharing our life story with them and what it's like to live with a son that's on the spectrum. And that makes me feel good that they're looking into our family, like, oh, how are they doing things, like how are they doing, um, and like I mentioned earlier, we have their support 100%, and it just makes them a little bit more involved. Christian has a big impact on the family because
Mm-hmm.
they're always wanting to know if we need anything. They're always there to lend a hand, whatever it is. And even if he didn't have autism, I'm sure it'd still be the same.
I mean, they were like that with Haiti.
Yeah, but I feel that with Christian is like they want to be more involved, So this has brought us a little bit more together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, we'll probably make a video all about like how family came to accept a diagnosis and like what happened when we like told them about the diagnosis. But I will say that having them see us live our life in the positive way that we really try to be helps them not feel sorry for him or sorry for us, because it's easy for parents to be like, damn, like in Spanish it's like pobrecito mi hijo, like which translates pretty much to like what is like I feel so sorry for him, or like what a sad life. And whenever that comes up, I'm like, it's not a sad life, and it kind of makes me mad. Like there's he's not, do you see him, like he's jumping around having a blast, living his best life, because his life is different and not what you would think is normal. That doesn't mean that it's a sad life,
Yeah.
You have to think positive, and us being positive makes them feel positive. I've had experiences where like a loved one will say like, why did this happen to him, like why is this his life? And like, you can't think like that. You can't stay in the negative area, because your life will it reflects whatever you're feeling, reflects on them. So whatever negativity you're feeling, even though you don't want it to be like going towards your kiddo, like they feel it. So just do the best you can, and like, yes, you'll feel negativity at moments for certain things, but like don't let it become your normal.
That goes back to that other question. That's that person being selfish for themselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because selfishly you want this normal life that you created in your head. Don't be selfish, like mourn, you could say, that life, but allow this new life to be like the best life that it can be,
because you're missing out on
them. You're missing out on a good life, man. It's good. It's a good life. Let's see. How do you as a parent cope with feeling defeated and overwhelmed this is a good next question, between all the therapy appointments for my 3-year-old son, money issues, working, keeping a household running, and mothering 2 other neurotypical boys? I'm feeling like I have nothing left by the end of the day. Alicia, you're not alone, man. Like that is us. Like I just started working 8 months ago. And I don't think the house has been clean like it was before since I started. I don't think I'm gonna show you, but the house is a mess. Like, and every day we're like, I'm awake personally. Every day I'm like, okay, 5 a.m. I'm gonna, make that lunch for Hugo. He's gonna go to work, and I'm gonna clean this house. And what ends up happening is I get cozy on the couch, and I'm like, and I'm like, it's 7 o'clock. I have to hurry up. So I feel you. And then, like the driving, all the appointments, just life itself, like it is draining, but I think it helps to take some time to yourself. And even if the house is messy, like just go outside and chill, play with your kids. Don't let it be like such a big thing because trust me, a lot of us, just even in general families, we all struggle with finding that balance.
Yeah, a big stress reliever for us is being outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
Just being outside and um, being silly with your kids. It really helps out. What we like to do is we like to go out to the mountains, go hiking, even being in the backyard, like she mentioned, and that really just
Going to the park.
yeah, you just forget about everything, and it kind of brings me back to when I was a kid. So when I play with them, it's like I feel a kid myself.
And it's hard for me to be like a kid. I feel like Hugo is like, yay, let's go play. For me, I'm a little bit more stiff. I take a little time to like be like, okay, I'm gonna let loose. But the time where I feel the most overwhelmed and stressed and like, dang, I'm not doing anything right is when I'm just sitting like a potato on my couch watching TV. When the house is messy and I'm like, dang, I just killed a whole hour just sitting here. Even if it's, like the kids are around, you just don't feel like you're engaging with them enough. But yeah, I don't it's just every day you have to try to mentally be 100% in your head. Like, don't wake up and be like, dang, the house is a mess. I can't do so many things. Like, just take a coffee or take your tea or take a orange juice, whatever you need. Take a few minutes to yourself. Try to wake up early, a little bit early, and just have that time. Because even though I go back to sleep, when you leave and I have my coffee, I'm like, this is nice. I need this. Don't stress about what you can't change, and just know that you're doing your best. And like, if you are thinking about all these things like money and feeling overwhelmed about therapy appointments and all this, I feel like you're doing something right, because you're trying. You have all these things going on, and you just want to be the best that you can, and you are being the best that you can by just trying.
Yeah.
And our last question, which is a heavy hitter. Woo. Do you blame yourself for your child having autism? And let's see, why was that? Do you feel jealous when you see kids who are younger than your son talk? They say that they feel jealous at times. And I want to say that that's a hard thing to like admit. So it's really good that you can admit it, and I can admit it too. Like, especially in the beginning, and maybe even now sometimes, like if I could be 100% honest, I see a lot of kids that are younger than Christian at work. And, there's certain things that I've done with Christian and they never turned up to have any verbal communication with him. I tried it, and then I try with other kids, and it's coming, and I'm so happy that it's coming. But yeah, sometimes I'm like, hey, like, why couldn't Christian just like be able to imitate, and he would have these words? Or I wish that they, like we said before, like that they could have this bond, or that he could play with other kids and like things like that. So I think it's normal to feel like that, but you just kind of can't dwell on it, because it's easy, especially like on social media, to just look at other families and be like, whoa, that they have everything perfect, but nothing is perfect. And everybody kind of has a feeling of this, like, I wish, I'm jealous of this. You just kind of can't let that be what you always feel.
Yeah. Um, for me, do I blame myself? No, I don't blame myself, because it's something that I don't have control over. And just him being born is a miracle. All of us being born is a miracle. And I'm just living the best life with him, and I'm happy to be sharing my life with him, my daughter, and my wife. I feel that we're living the best life we can, and I'm just happy for that. For me, on my side, I don't look at it that way. I just live my life, and I'm happy with the life that I'm living.
I think as a mom, you could get a little bit more of that. What if I cost something? But like, just think about all the different stories that we have. Like, did you breastfeed? Did you drop your kiddo? Did you have complications at birth? Do you have diabetes? Like, every story is different, and all of the things that combine us is that our kids have autism. So, I mean, there's just too many variables. I don't think it's fair to you to blame yourself for something that there's no control over it. So yeah, I don't blame myself and I don't think you should either blame yourself for your kid having autism. So I hope we got all of your questions. There was a few that were kind of similar, so we kind of tackled those together. So thank you so much for sending in these questions. When I saw them, I was like, whoa, these are some really cool, really good questions. So I appreciate it. Like I said, we really try to be honest with you guys about what we feel and what we've thought before and where we're at now, because I really hope that if you are in that stage of like still not accepting it, or it's very hard, just know that with time things get easier and you do become more accepting of how your life is. And it really is not a sad life. So don't worry. And I know that with therapies and like insurance and all of this, it can be very frustrating and challenging at times, but just keep your head up, because like I said, we're all kind of going through this, and just know that you're not alone.
thank you for your time. And we hope that you guys enjoyed this video as much as we enjoyed making it. And please subscribe and hit the bell. And we'll see you in the next